Hey kids, it is Mr. King coming to you with another lesson. We've got Austin's terrifying face here, which I've made as an example for this project. Now I did a similar project, or at least a video on one for this, the initial COVID lockdown, but we've taken this a lot further. So you can look and see the different materials you can use, but all you really need for this is some sort of thick paper. Watercolor paper is amazing if you can get to a store and grab some, or order a little online. But if you are in a pinch, the inside the material that a cereal box is made out of works pretty well, which is a laminated cardboard, not the corrugated stuff. Cardstock works absolutely fine for this. Basically, poster board is also another good option. You want to use the non-glossy side of your poster board. So that's what you're going to end up using for the paper. You're going to need some sort of glue liquid or glue stick, and then some sort of paint. I've been using watercolor here with watercolor pencils, which are these, but you can use liquid watercolor, you could use watercolor cakes, you could use acrylic paint, any of it works. Really, the whole point of this is to modify a photograph of yourself. And if you can't get a photograph of yourself, not like a photo, you can't get a printout that you've made on the computer, then using a face from a magazine works totally fine too. So we take a portrait, and what we are going to do is we're going to make a grotesque. And a grotesque is a disgusting, nasty version of ourselves. It's meant to be kind of scary and horrible. You can see Chris has a nice idea here with this weird telescoping neck where you can see the inside of his neck right here, and got this kind of cartoonish version of his spinal column. And then we've got Dominic right here with the stretched out face, but from a very different angle, and even had his shirt stretch out behind him. He's working on that still. So these are works in progress. Olivia's got a snake passing through her head. Romeo has a similar idea, but with some sort of weird alien monster and then tentacles coming out of his mouth. He has yet to do all the color and shading here, and then even some really interesting stuff with an explosion of confetti out of the brain. Why not? So cool ideas here. The kids are really taking it and running with it. They're just starting though, so this is a multi-week project. I will have more projects for you guys to come up on, and you can kind of pick and choose from, but this is the one I'm presenting to you this week. So as you can see, all I did right here, and I can show you with any of these pictures, is we took photographs of ourselves, we cut them with scissors, separated points, or even just did little cuts like Olivia here, just did little notches in her ear to make it appear more like that snake was passing through her head, through her ears. And so you take that, you pencil in the information missing from the points between. Or you pencil in the information for the something else that's interacting with you or that head in the picture. Once you've cut out your image and you've separated where you want to, and you started penciling in where you want it, make sure you glue it down nice and secure. And then you're going to want to start doing some fun stuff. I used a Sharpie to illustrate both on and over the pencil that I did, and I want to see if I can show you that, guys, on screen. So you can see there's some Sharpie here on his ear, and there's some Sharpie here to illustrate all of the lines here across the mouth and the face. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to have the drawing feel like it was part of the photograph as well, and vice versa. Now, if you can see the colors don't match perfectly from the skin to the face here, and I'm not too concerned about that. I kind of like when they're a little bit different, just because then it makes it feel like his skin has actually changed texture as well when it's stretching out like that, like it becomes some doughy substance. I had a kid actually say it reminds him of like a pepperoni cheese pizza, so that kind of made me laugh. But anyways, we are going to add our color to that. I would like you to try out some paint. If you don't have any paint on hand, colored pencil is a really good option if you can't paint, and that's just because you can blend it so well. So colored pencil, blending different colors over to get the colors that you want to would work totally fine. Watercolor pencils are obviously a really good option too. And so the idea being that you're just trying to integrate this weird, grotesque strangeness, this surreal craziness into the portrait that you've chosen right here. Okay, so the other thing I want to mention about it is that as you're working on these, please understand, the more you do, the more, like Chris gave himself a lot of opportunities here. Olivia did a really nice job on her so far, but I want to see a lot more. I was telling her that I would like to see some other things happening in the image here, because this is much less going on than obviously what Chris has going on right here. But Chris has further to go obviously with his, because he's just got more stuff he has to do. So that's really it. There's nothing really hard to explain about this. We're really just trying to make the craziest, weirdest faces we can. And as far as I'd like you to get for the first lesson on this, if you are going to choose this as your piece, is to take it, glue it, illustrate it, so draw it in pencil and go over it in fine point marker of some sort. And then from there you can start to add your color. If you're just beginning to add your color, that's great, because the other thing I want to tell you guys about is glazing. And that's adding a layer of paint, waiting for it to dry, and then adding another layer of paint on top of it. So right now, Dominic only has one layer of paint on his portrait, and that's exactly where he's supposed to be. Same for Chris, even though he's blended a lot of the colors together, he only has one layer of the watercolors, and same for Olivia. Now mine, on the other hand, actually has 3 layers of paint. It's hard to tell, but that's why it looks more finished and the color's punchier in a sense, because there's, you know, layer after layer after layer. And all you got to do is wait for it to dry for a little bit, and if you're using watercolors, it only takes a few minutes. And then, as soon as it's dry, you go back in and you do another layer of paint over the top. And it sounds like when most people say just paint over it, you can paint over that, unless you're using really, really high-end acrylic paint that is very viscous, or you're using really high-end oil paint, which you won't be. Unless you're using those things, you will still be able to see the colors from the last layer underneath. And that makes it much more interesting to look at. It makes it look much more real because it has more depth to it, and that can make some really cool things. The other thing I want you to pay attention to is trying to add a little bit of shading, a little bit of shadow. So make sure the inside of a mouth or a space like that that's going back in space is darkened in shadow, and make sure some of your edges are put into shadow so that it feels more three-dimensional. So good luck, have fun, make yourself look disgusting. I want to see those photos of them when you're done, and I will catch you guys next time for another lesson.